All right, guys, so now we thought we'd plug in our GPs into the amps. I've got my good friend Jay, who's got his wonderful pedal board. Jay's got some really interesting sounds, so I want to start asking you about yours.
Oh, lovely.
Can you just play us your first patch?
I'll give you an example.
What you did, so it's wicked. That's cool. So, yeah, how did you get that sound?
Well, okay, I've used, on the synth side, I've used the GR300 model, which is a classic GR300 sound. Then I've just put tons of reverb on it, and then a trem. And then the trem is activated by that foot switch there. And then I've just got the other control pedal switching on my normal pickup, or activating my normal pickup, again with some reverb, some delay, and like a touch of vibrato to give it a bit of movement. So, yeah.
Before we hear your next sound, basically the way I'm doing it is I'm using it as a kind of a drop tuning device. So basically you can have it set up as an 8-string, a 7-string, and I'm running it straight into the front. So let me show you how I'm doing that. So basically my 7-string vibe. So that's literally just dropping the guitar and then going in the amp, but I can take it back to normal tuning as well. So, and then I can drop it at any point like this. So that's the way I like to use it. I'm using the distortion from the pedal as well. Just quickly, just to show you how easy it is, I've got a drop D, and then I can drop down to a C for something as well. And drop C. So I'm using the guitar modeling, but the other cool thing is I've set up the virtual pickup switch as well, so you can get both humbucker sounds from the guitar. If I just turn the basic tuning off, it sounds a bit like this. To the neck pickup as well, which sounds really cool. If I just put the distortion on, then I can drop my E to a D. So for me, I'm just using it as a drop down tool, which is pretty cool, straight into the front of the amp.
Yeah. Well, that's the concept, I guess, between sticking it as the first pedal on your pedal board, because it becomes your guitar modeler alternative tuning device.
Yeah, so let's hear another one of your patches.
So I'm going to play you one of my delay patches. So basically what I've got going on there, I've got the regular guitar going straight through, then I've got a delay, just one, and then where I've used the modelling and it blends through the pedal is to bring another guitar in a fifth above what I'm playing.
That's cool, yeah.
But when I've used the delay, I've only put wet through, and it's half the speed of the other one.
Yeah. That's cool.
You only get the wet signal. So it just builds up a kind of tribally.
Let's have another one. I thought you had the cut resonator or something.
So this is a real simple synth sound, which I've actually used in conjunction with Terra Echo. And basically, I've got the GR300 synth, and then I've got the pedal, the expression pedal, controlling the cutoff and resonance at the same time. So it gives you that. It gives you that kind of old, warm synth feeling, but you've got complete control over it. Yeah.
That's wicked. Well, basically, I've got an even more basic, more kind of conventional, just synth sound, which I quite like, sort of bass, synth bass. So I'm using just the wave synth with the internal filter. Yeah, another cool thing is I've got this patch with an octave down on the expression pedal, which is quite cool. So it's actually going right down a full octave to a bass, which arguably is how some people have their 8 strings tuned these days. Of course, you can tune it to anything you want, which is pretty cool as well. So, any more patches?
Okay, I'll play you this one.
Is that some kind of resonator or something? What's that in the background? It's
an acoustic sitar. Sitar.
Okay, cool.
Well done. I was going to say sitar, but you threw me. So yeah, there's basically a sitar in there, and then I use a Control 2 pedal to like really strip down the EQ, so it's just the top end of the EQ. And then when I press it, I've got the EQ behind the delay. It kind of swells up and like blooms into that kind of bigger sound on the brink of feedback. So yeah, again, another kind of spacey kind of sound, really.
That's kind of your vibe, isn't it, really?
A little bit, maybe. I love the Space Echo. It's probably one of my favourite pedals. I've got all the treble stripped out of the reverb, and it just adds an extra dimension. Then you can wind the tape. Love it.
Oh, I wanted to have a go. All right, why don't you finish off with one more of your coolish patches?
Okay, this is a variation on one of my earlier ones. Okay. And in this one, I've actually used the oscillator synth. So it's got digital oscillators in there that I can use, and I've got control over all of the parameters. Like you'd see on a analog modeling synth or analog synth, you've basically got all those controls, envelopes and ADSR stuff, and you can just go absolutely nuts. I think that's probably my favourite mode.
So how many synths are in there?
3 altogether. You've got the GR300, which is a classic model of the GR300. You've got the wave synth, and then you've got the oscillator synth, the OSC synth, which has got kind of the most nuts and bolts to kind of get in and play around with. And of course, you can blend it all with the pickup. And I can even assign parameters, any parameter of the synth and the oscillators to the pedal. So for example, if I turn my pickup off and just go with the GK. And I can assign like a pedal, like I've got this tap tempo one here, controlling some of the parameters inside the synth as well, which are linked to the tempo of the patch. So if I speed up the tap tempo, I can make some really interesting textures, and then have that as a bed. Okay, so talking in modelling, should we check out some acoustics?
Yeah, all right. Well, basically, because of the nature of the sound of acoustic, we're going straight into the PA, as it were. So we've shut the amps off for a second. So just a couple of examples: normal acoustic, a resonator, and a sitar. So here's the standard acoustic sound. Can add the 12 string to that.
Acoustic with a trem.
You can also detune it as well, so I can drop it down to like a dadgad or something. And that's with the 12 string, but without. So here's a resonator. Pretty cool. And here's a bit of a sitar, which is quite cool. What I've done is dropped some of the tunings to give you like a drone note, if you will.
So in summary, on the modelling and alt tune section, we've got a whole bunch of electric guitars, Strats, tellies, pickup selections. You've got acoustics, banjos, resonators, bass guitars, 3 different synth modes with infinitely controllable options. Plus you've got control over individual strings on panning, level, and 2 octaves of tuning in either direction.